This is Madeline.
And this is Nolan, and this is Tinker v. Des Moines, a court case in 1969. This court case originated from a group of students from a school in Des Moines that originated a silent protest against the Vietnam War by wearing black armbands to school. However, the school stepped in and banned the armbands prior to the protest starting, but the students ended up wearing the armbands anyway. And they were suspended until they would return to school without the armbands, so they didn't return to school until the scheduled end of the protest. One of the students, Mary Beth Tinker, had their parents sue the school district looking for a rule preventing the schools from disciplining the students for wearing political symbols to school. So that leads to the next question. Why did the students wear the black armbands, and to support what?
Tinker's argument. They wore the black armbands to symbolically support Senator Kennedy's Christmas truce. Since so symbolic, it should be protected by the First Amendment. They believed that since other forms of protest were still being allowed, such as buttons for national political campaigns, so should the armbands. The students wanted to prevent schools from disciplining the students due to political symbolic protests within the school. Des Moines' argument. The country was in the middle of a war, and due to this, there were many protests and lots of violence going on regarding this war. Des Moines was afraid that the armbands being in schools would spark violence, controversy, and disrupt learning, or even create other issues within the schools. Question 2. Why did Tinker claim that the armbands were symbolic speech?
Under the Supreme Court of Chief Justice Earl Warren, the court ruled 7-2 in favor of the students, or Tinker's argument. The court found that the students retain First Amendment rights as long as the acts did not materially or substantially interfere with school's operation. This includes learning environments and learning possibilities for other students. They found that since the First Amendment now applied to the states via the 14th Amendment, the school officials could no longer censor student speech unless, as I said, it was materially or substantially interfering with the educational process. So that leads to the next question. How and what amendments were utilized during the ruling?
The significance of this case is that it led to the creation of the substantial disruption test. The criteria of this test is if a student's speech causes mass protests or a planned walkout, it would satisfy the substantial disruption standard. These disruptions don't have to actually happen, but if it is suspected, it would satisfy the standard. Officials' forecast must also be reasonable. It cannot be undifferentiated fear. They must be able to point at what specifically justified their action to ban the speech. Distraction must be more than a minor irritant. And this case also led to the saying that students don't shed their constitutional rights at the school gates. The case's ruling began to set the rules and parameters for freedom of speech prohibition on the school property, and future cases led to developing the laws even further. Question 4. Explain the standard disruption test and the criteria used to limit student speech.